The moment you understand everything is the moment nothing makes sense anymore. The lie is gone, but so is the purpose it gave. So is the identity it held together. Now there's no story left to hide in, just space, too quiet, too sharp. And for the first time, you're not in pain. You're just no one. That's the part no one prepares you for. Because everyone talks about the breakthrough like it's an arrival, a moment of clarity, relief, empowerment, light. But clarity doesn't feel like light. It feels like loss. The roles fall off, the justifications dissolve. The version of self that knew how to keep everything intact doesn't know what to do anymore. And that's the problem. Breakthroughs don't build, they strip. They don't create something new. They reveal what never really belonged in the first place. What's left afterward is not peace. It's the absence of the distraction that kept you stable. No routine, no performance, no story to keep repeating. Just a raw, open space with no answers and no one to become. It's not a breakdown, it's a vacancy. You still show up, you still speak, you still walk through the world like everything's fine. But internally, everything's suspended. Because now the questions change. They're no longer about what went wrong, they're about what was real, what was built on coping, what was inherited, what was survival. And when you start asking those questions, you stop relating to almost everything. Conversations feel distant, rooms feel staged. People keep talking like the old rules still apply. But something in you has already stepped out of it. There's no going back, and there's nowhere to go forward yet. That's what the breakthrough actually creates, a gap between who you were and whoever's supposed to come next. And standing in that gap is lonelier than anything that came before it, because you're not who you used to be, and you're not someone else yet, you're just awake and unfinished. There's a silence that follows clarity, and it's not peaceful, it's hollow. Most try to outrun it, build something fast, attach to a new idea, pick a new label, tell a new story. Anything to not sit in that strange place where everything you used to believe is gone, and nothing has replaced it yet. It feels like failure, even though it's not. It feels like regression, even though it's the first time you've stopped lying. But the body doesn't care about that. The mind doesn't celebrate the truth when it's paired with disorientation. It just panics, because the scaffolding that kept the old identity standing is gone. The mask that used to make you functional no longer fits. The distractions that helped you cope now feel insulting. So most people rebuild too soon. They rush the next version, pick new beliefs, adopt new habits, reframe the pain as purpose, and it looks strong. But it's just survival again, dressed in something that feels more conscious. Because stillness is unbearable when your identity was built through motion. And when that stillness stretches too long, the urge to self-abandon shows up in new costumes. It looks like over-explaining. It looks like chasing connection before you're ready. It looks like productivity. It looks like healing at full speed. But it's all just movement, not integration, not rebuilding, just motion to cover the echo. That echo is necessary, because what it's showing you is real. There was nothing underneath the performance. And now, there's space. But space is where truth starts, not where it ends. And if that space is filled too fast, you lose the chance to meet the version of self that only appears when no one's watching. When there's no script to follow and nothing to prove, that version doesn't come from inspiration. It doesn't rise up out of clarity like a phoenix. It just waits, quietly, past the fear, past the shame, past the need to make it all mean something. That's where most people never reach, because they don't want truth. They want momentum. They want relief. They want to be better. But the work doesn't care about better. It cares about honest. And honest comes after everything collapses and you don't fill the silence right away. That's where the real shift begins. not when something new is built, but when you realize you don't need to rebuild so quickly. You need to feel what's still here, what's been hiding under performance for years, what's been waiting to be noticed before it's fixed. What comes next isn't transformation, it's maintenance, not of the image, but of the space. Because what the breakthrough destroyed wasn't your future. It was the blueprint you were never meant to follow. So now the real work starts, learning how to stay empty without rushing to fill it. That means waking up without a story to perform. It means sitting in a room where nothing feels urgent. It means learning to be bored again, without reaching for distraction, without manufacturing purpose. And that's the hard part, because everything in your system is wired for motion, for justification, for proving that the pain had a point. But some pain doesn't have a point. It just opens the door, and once it opens, the person who walks through it can't be the same one who walked in. So, who's left? Most can't answer that, because the version of self that's built from stillness isn't impressive, isn't clear, isn't even consistent. It's a version that doesn't need a label, doesn't need to convince anyone, doesn't need a reason to exist other than the fact that it does. That's what the silence holds. Not failure, not confusion, but a life unperformed. No narrative, no pressure, just the parts of you that were never safe to admit. The bitterness, the doubt, the exhaustion, the unmet desire, it's all there. And finally, there's space for it to be named, not solved, not reframed, just named. That's where integration begins. Not with progress, but with presence. Letting the pieces show up on their own. Letting the nervous system unwind in its own time. Letting clarity settle instead of chasing a new version of self to cover it up. Because once the lie is gone, there's nothing left to sell. Nothing left to prove. Nothing left to hold together except the truth of what's still here. And maybe that truth is simple. Maybe it's, I don't know who I am now. I don't want to keep doing this. I'm tired of fixing things. I just want to be left alone long enough to hear myself again. If that's what's left after the breakthrough, good. It means it was real. Because the point was never to become a better version of the lie. It was to survive it. To step out of it without building a new one in its place. And that takes time. Not weeks, not stages, not content-ready milestones. Just time. Time to feel, to unlearn, to detach from what made you perform in the first place. And if the world moves on without you while you do that, let it. Because the world didn't save you. The lie didn't save you. The breakthrough didn't save you. You did. By staying, by not turning back, by not selling yourself another story just to feel like progress was happening. That's what comes after the breakthrough. Not reinvention, not achievement, just room to rest, to forget, to relearn, to re-enter when you're ready, not when you're watched.